Thank you again, Robin, for that awesome introduction. For anyone who is not aware, my piece, Your Ways Warning, is partially inspired by the work of Chinua Achebe when he did the work Things Fall Apart, where he depicted the colonization of the African continent. And so I am, in a sense, paying homage to him and putting my own spin on things. Your Ways Warning. Mind your breathing, watch his feet. Find your center, plant your feet. Chants Azizi over and over again to himself in a prayer like mantra, watching the massive man that is his opponent at the opposite side of the wrestling ring. Taking one last breath and calling upon all of his courage, the slight boy springs towards his opponent, who twists his own body and catches Azizi by his waist just as he attempts to speed past him. Gripping him by the waist from behind, the man sweeps Azizi's feet out from under him and in a loud thud drops to the ground atop his captive. What did you do wrong this time, Azizi? Asked the man, exasperated. I forecast my strike, father. He answers despite a face muffled with dirt. How many times have I told you that told you, his father grumbles while standing to his feet. Surprise is your ally. Give the boy time, Jabali calls one of the other fathers. He is only 11 summers. I was toppling opponents twice my size at that age, Jabali retorts with subdued venom. What are you waiting for? He shouts back at Azizi, who sits on the ground nursing a very sore midsection. At his father's thundering gaze, Azizi jumps to his feet. No point in embarrassing ourselves any further, Jabali speaks almost to himself and storms off in the direction of his family compound, with a demoralized Azizi in his wake. Entering the compound of round thatched huts, Jabali nearly trips over a small pig running loose. Curse you, wretched swine! He shouts, kicking after the retreating animal. At the sound of his voice, two of his three wives sharply turn from their chores in his direction, and the small children who played carelessly at their feet run into one of the wives' huts. Madiwa, the first wife, calmly puts down the basket she was weaving at the sight of her son, Azizi, finally coming into view. She rises and walks to him, casting a glance full of condemnation at her husband. Don't look at me as if I were one of the children, woman, he verbally spits at her, the last word more insult than moniker. Only a mule or a child will continue down the same stubborn path, expecting to reach a different destination, she boldly replies. One of the other two women's wives just barely giggles at Madiwa's response. When Jabali turns his dark countenance their way, the two quickly drop their heads and continue to work with blank expressions as rigid as stone. You go too far, woman, he says, turning back to Madiwa, who is attending to Azizi's bruised chest and waist. Will you beat me too, then? She asks without returning his glance. I wasn't beating the boy. I was teaching him combat just as all men his age are taught. His bruises are a result of his own repeated failure. Why is it so hard for you to accept that the warrior may not be his path just because it is yours? Perhaps your way has lain another for him, she suggests, finally eyeing him coldly while ushering Azizi back towards the compound's entrance. Your way. Jabali repeats the name through hoarse laughter. You women in your wives' tales, only women, children, and weaklings acknowledge this make believe coddling goddess. Anyone with the sense of a gnat knows that Kandu is supreme. It is by his mighty arm that the prosperity and peace of our village are guaranteed. Behind Jabali's back, the other two wives slightly nod their heads and make signs to ward against evil. Madiwa looks beyond him and calls the other children to her. Come, we will gather water for the evening meal. She turns on her heel and leads the children out of the compound with Jabali still chuckling to himself. Your way, whatever. Mother, Azizi calls as he and the rest of the children, make their way to the stream carrying clay pots of varying sizes. Don't you fear, father? A sly smile crosses Mediva's face as she considers the example she sets for the children. Her silence catches all of their attention. I respect my husband, but I fear your way. The children look upon her with puzzlement. Mother, who is your way? Asked one of the smallest children. Glancing around, Medea thinks to herself and spies something that can help her explain just as they come into view of the stream. Look to the Ebis, she says, pointing to a small ladybird using its long beak to fish something out of the mud. It pulls a shellfish out of its shell and feeds it to one of its hatchlings. And there, drawing their attention to a wildcat diligently cleaning a kitten with its tongue. And down the stream, their eyes follow hers to a mother elephant standing vigil over her young as they splash and tumble in the water. Oh, so your way is a mother, Azizi deduces. Not exactly, child, answers a voice that crackles like a low flame. Madiwa, her brood, the other women and children gathered at the stream all turned to see Umamu, the village wise woman who seems to appear out of nowhere. Your way is the mother, Amamu continues. She is Nana the sky, mother of creation. She is the Sase, goddess of the earth, provider of the fruits and grains that fill your belly. Lamanja, mother of mankind, and many other names long forgotten. All mothers are her collective fleshly manifestation, and all men the sons who defend her honor. So she's Kondo's mate, asks one of the small boys. Amamu laughs in response while drawing the warding sign against evil in the sand with her walking stick. The women all make vain attempts to suppress their laughter while imitating her gesture in the air with their hands. No, 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 little one, she finally answers, nodding her head full of tightly wound silver locks. She settles herself on the bank of the stream and calls the boy to her. His mother gently pushes him towards the wise woman. Your way is no one's mate, she explains, folding her slender arms around the boy as the other women coax the rest of the children to Amamu's feet. For the briefest second, she beams at the sight of Azizi reluctantly joining the younger children. Kandu is a usurper. He's an invention of man, a justification for petty tribal wars. It is your way who provides our prosperity and maintains our peace. While other villages have fallen to the traditions and weapons of the pale ones, your way keeps us safe and hidden in our bosom. Still, she has been forsaken far too long. Her name has been ridiculed, her sacrifices neglected and offered up to the false ones. Just as any mother, Yahweh's patience is only as long as the horizon. With each phrase, her voice demonstrates a mixture of grief and condemnation. Somberly, she kisses the first child's forehead, releases him, and moves to rise with the aid of her walking stick. But all of this comes to an end with the light of the next full moon, she says, concluding her statement, finally rising to her full height. The next full moon, gasps one of the women. The festival, exclaims another. They look to each other in fear, vigorously attempting to ward off the evil. Imamu, is there any way to appease her? Madiwa turns toward Imamu to ask, but finds the wise woman has disappeared just as suddenly as she appeared. The women and children draw the water and make their way back to the village with mixed emotions regarding the wise woman's proclamation. They come to one conclusion. Your way will make her presence known at the festival, during which they will consecrate the fields and celebrate the planting season. Mother, calls Azizi, what sacrifice does your way require of us? I honestly don't know, my son, she answers, uncharacteristically troubled. It is said that in the past she has demanded trinkets as small as the seedlings we plant, or as costly as the life of a village elder. The myth of your way. In the beginning, chaos dwelt alone. She was courted by three male deities. Each wanting her as his mate presented gifts as tokens of their affection. The first gave her a crown of eternity. The second gifted her with a shawl of pure light. The third bestowed upon her a breastplate of fertility. Chaos accepted all of their tokens. In time, the three hopeful suitors became impatient and very competitive. When she took too long to choose between the three, they became blind with rage and violently snatched their gifts away, nearly killing her. The crown shattered, creating time. The shawl rippled, and the pieces. ripped, and the pieces formed the heavenly lights. The breastplate cracked to reveal that she was with child. Out of remorse, they each spoke a blessing over her womb and covered her in a protective cocoon. With their anger cooled and collective self absolution satisfied, the three retired to the palace of the heavens. In time, the cocoon split and order emerged full of new life, her womb protesting its load. As her womb labored, she spread out her limbs, transforming her curves into the hills and the valleys. The trees, flowers, and plants sprang up forth from her hair. In the fullness of time, she gave birth to Doomfire of the sky, Anaje of the flame, and Banga of the seas. In harmonious love, they looked upon her and called her Your Way, blessed mother. Banga covered her nakedness with the seas, rivers, and streams. Ananje provided her warmth in the winter. Doomfi, the firstborn, protectively watched over her from the firmament of the heavens, sending cooling breezes. Using the power that they inherited from your way to create as well as destroy, they further cultivated the land. In return, she provided each son the gift of a bride, to whom they each presented their dual power to create and destroy as a bridegroom. Together, the three couples gave birth to the nations of man. Your way, weary from her labor, went into a deep sleep, waking only periodically for sacrificial offerings or at the behest of her six children and their descendants. There's trouble in the village. Mama is coming to settle the matter. If you want to see how she handles it, and she does handle it, get the book. Thank you.